Hi, my name's Vicki Twigg, and I want to welcome you to the Knitting Boutique's Saturday Morning Breakfast Club podcast. Enjoy your knitting.
For more information about the yarn, books, patterns, or industry designers discussed on our Saturday Morning Breakfast Club podcast, visit our website at knittingboutique.com or give us a call at country code and area code 1-410-553-0433. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Breakfast Club podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Joyce.
And you're listening to episode 74 of our podcast. On today's show, we've just come back from our weekend retreat at the Inn of Huntingfield. It's on Maryland's Eastern Shore. We had our Twigg Stitch Retreat with Vicki Twigg. So we're going to give you some highlights of our weekend.
And you'll have a chance to hear comments from participants.
Of which you were one.
Yes.
Did you have a good time?
Of course.
What was your favorite part? I do that all the time, right? What was your favorite part of the weekend?
Prepared for this.
I know, and I do it every time.
I think my favorite part was when the Twig Stitch became clear.
Okay.
Because I worked for a while, and then I thought, oh, wait a minute, if I move the yarn this way, So it was that wonderful aha moment that all of us had at various times.
The light bulb.
The light bulb, exactly. Yep.
So here's the question. We were there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. When did the light bulb hit?
Certainly not Friday, because it took me forever to get there because I left late and I got caught in traffic.
Wasn't it raining?
It was raining and there was a lot of traffic.
Okay.
So I was pretty well fried by the time I arrived for dinner. Saturday morning.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of mid-morning. All of a sudden I woke up enough to really think, oh, yes.
Good.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
So on today's show, you're going to hear from others who learned how to do Twig Stitch over the weekend.
And we also have a giveaway to announce.
Between them, because when you bring them through between the needles, front to back or back to front, they are going to twist around each other. If you're not holding them separated, you'll lose the twist. And if you lose the twist, it all turns into double knitting.
So they twist when you bring them forward?
And when you take them back, yes.
I'm joined by Trudy. Trudy's been knitting away all morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
How's your weekend?
It's been wonderful.
What's been wonderful?
Well, the place is lovely. The grounds are really nice. And it's just, the camaraderie of other knitters, so it's a great time.
Yeah, and then what's nice about it is most of these knitters have been coming to retreats together for the last 4 and 5 years. This is your first year here.
Yes, this is my first year at this particular location, but I have attended the Aspen River Retreat 3 times. I believe.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah,
So what made you switch up?
Well, I've done Portuguese knitting. I've actually did a garment in Portuguese knitting. I haven't done the Twig Stitch, and I was looking for a better way to be more efficient with color work. So I decided to learn the Twig Stitch, and I'm glad I did that. It's similar to brioche, but it seems like it'll be more efficient.
You can tell that already, that it's going to be more efficient for you to do color work?
Yes, because you can incorporate both colors into one row versus with brioche, it's a 2-pass. So you have to do 2 rows to complete one brioche.
So it looks like you signed up to come back next year.
I did. I like these little getaways. It's I call knitting my stress reliever. I have a very stressful job, so I kind of use knitting to get away from it. And retreats is just a bonus.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, we're glad you're coming back. We're glad you joined us for this one, and we're glad you're coming back in 2019.
Quite welcome.
Thanks, Trudy.
You're welcome.
So I'm joined with Madeline. Madeline is a newbie here to our retreat. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
How's your weekend been?
It's been good.
Yeah.
It's really cold, but it's fun.
It is cold here, isn't it?
It is.
But it's also this kind of cozy place.
Oh, the inn is wonderful. We have a wonderful room with a fireplace and books everywhere and big windows and really nice people.
Yeah, and you also in the library where we're taking classes, they've got kind of an old wood burning kind of fireplace too.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So talk about what you expected and how is this either the same or different than what you expected?
I'm not usually really good with a whole group of people I don't know, But I came because my sister invited me and has had such a good time. So I came and I found out that it's lovely to be with a bunch of people who have the same sort of passion for knitting that I'm just learning to have. So it's really fun.
That's so good.
And all these people are so nice.
Yeah, because I think we were talking at dinner. You're the shy one.
Uh-huh.
How have you fared with Twig Stitch?
Pretty good. I tried reading the book, and I was not really good with reading the book, but Vicki's very clear when she talks about it, and then she's really been good about coming around and spending time one-on-one with all of our problems, and so it's been good. I think I may have it. I'm not sure, but I may have it.
Are you still on the sample, or you started on your scarf
I
at
have
this
just
point?
started knitting. I've just started casting on the scarf.
Ooh, good luck.
Thanks.
I love the colors you chose. Can you talk to our podcast listeners about your colors that you chose for the scarf?
I sort of went through my closet with sort of transitional spring sorts of things. I was tired of looking at dark colors at the end of the winter, so I wanted to do lighter colors. And these were colors that sort of kind of a pale gray and a teal and a rose and a purple looked like clothes I had in my closet. So that's why I chose them.
Yeah, and I think when they blend with the scarf, it's going to be really beautiful.
Yeah, but I like now I see the colors that you and Vicki had chosen. I thought, oh, maybe I should have gotten one of those.
Well, I have extra kits if you need them.
I want to make another one. You've got me covered.
Exactly right. I've got more kits if you need them. Madeline, I'm so glad that you came to the retreat.
I'm glad I came too, and it was so nice to meet you after talking to you on email for a year.
Exactly. And you're coming back next year.
I am. Same cottage, same place.
Same everything.
Same everything. Same girls.
So glad you came.
Thanks.
So I'm joined by Michaela. Michaela is with the inn at Huntingfield Creek. Good morning, Michaela.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. We've had a wonderful morning. You just finished serving us this incredible breakfast.
Yes, we do a large country breakfast. We do scrambled egg, usually sausage and bacon. We have our sourdough toast, always a fruit, and then, of course, some coffee and tea and juice to go with it.
Yeah, I think you had coffee cake this morning too, right?
Yes, we did. And then tomorrow is Sunday, and we do our very berry breakfast bread pudding, which is Joanne Rich's signature recipe.
Well, the one thing about the inn is it's so comfortable. It feels like home. We've got Maggie and Bayless and Java kind of running around. Maybe you can talk about the dogs and what they...
So the dogs are a great addition to the inn. They really help make the inn be what it is. Each one has their own different personality. So you have Maggie, which is the small one, which really does run the show.
She does, there's no doubt.
Yes, she's a small Jack Russell. And then we have Bela, which is kind of our big chocolate lab that is, I guess, dumb happy. And then we have Java, which is our big, huge chocolate lab. And she's just there and wants to eat.
She just came to see us, right?
Yep, she did. She heard us talking about her, so.
So we're petting her as we talk to you listeners right now.
Yeah, she just loves being pet, and they're all super friendly. They like walks down to the water with the guests. They will walk around with you anywhere you go, and if you have food in your pocket, that will help.
Can you describe what the inn looks like for those who aren't able to see it?
Jim and Joanne Rich have put a lot of effort into the inn, making it feel like a home away from home. So I think that's what you mean when you're saying it feels like you feel very at home. I think the best description of the inn is almost like an old country farmhouse, but it was originally built as a telescope house. So back in the day, they were building the farmhouses it's called a telescope house, which means they built it horizontally instead of upwards. And then this house has actually been built a few times. It's had a couple of fires. We do have pictures of the fires as well. So there's a lot of history behind this house. But I think it's very rustic farm, but also like...
Elegant, classy.
Elegant, yeah. We have a barn that has a crystal chandelier in it for our wedding. So that says it all in itself.
I think you're exactly right. The barn with the chandelier, that says exactly what we're saying.
Yeah, it's elegant country.
And the knitting classes are being held in the library. Can you
Yes.
describe that room?
So the library is basically our main guest room. Everyone loves it. It has windows all around so the light can come in from any angle. It's nice and warm and cozy. We have a fireplace in it. And there is complimentary wine and soda and cookies. So that is definitely where guests like to congregate.
And that helps with the knitting.
Yes, I think they're having a good time over there.
It's just a very good atmosphere for learning. I am joined by Denise. Denise has been with us all weekend. How's your weekend been?
It's been a very good weekend.
For us.
And it's a new location, and I really like it.
You were just talking about your bedroom. I mean, I don't know how much we want to share. But explain what you saw this morning and last night that you thought was pretty fascinating.
Well, I have a view of the front of the building and also the back, but I also have sky roof in my room, 2 of them. And I can lay up there in the bed and watch the moon reflect off of the walls.
Wow. So that was your evening. You were laying
That was
there
it.
looking
Early
at
in the morning.
Just looking at the skylight, sky roof.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing this moon. It was a big moon too, right?
It was big.
But then the morning came.
Right.
And then what did you see?
I saw the sun come up.
Oh, wow. It's amazing that you even left the room and came down to learn how to knit today.
That's true. I could have spent all my time in my room watching the sun go across the sky and in my room.
And you said you're going to look for the stars tonight?
I am.
Yeah, let us know. I mean, one of the things we talked about is we are out here on the eastern shore of Maryland where it's incredibly quiet, quaint, but dark. The evening gets pretty dark, right?
Very dark.
So we'll see what happens with the stars tonight. You should be able to see them against the black sky.
Should be able to. Unless it clouds up because we're supposed to get rain tomorrow.
Oh, you've been listening to the forecast?
Yeah, it might rain.
Okay, all right. So how's the Twigg Stitch going for you?
Twigg Stitch is going pretty well. I finally got it down.
Yeah.
Finally. It took practically all day, but I have it down now.
Well, so what was making it complicated?
Well, you had to have yarn, strand of yarn in your left hand and the strand of yarn in your right hand, and the one on the left hand was supposed to be the knit hand, and the one in the right was the purl hand.
Well, we just had the big, long conversation. You're an ambidextrous. So your brain and hands were so confused.
Very confused.
Because both hands are dominant for you.
Yeah. So it took, a better part of the day to try and get that down.
And I'm really guessing it's because neither hand knew which one was going to win the dominant race.
They didn't know. It was a race to the finish.
Well, I'm glad you have it, and I'm so glad you joined us again this weekend. And it looks like you signed up for next year, so that's going to be fun too.
It is. It is. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I always look forward to you being at our retreats with us, Denise.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And I had to keep my fingers crossed for no snow.
No snow in 2019,
No snow.
At least February 2019.
That's
no
right.
snow.
No snow.
We're gonna wish on that for the next 365 days.
That's it. No snow.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we're joined with a special guest,
Vicki Twigg.
Good morning, Vicki.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am doing well, thank you. It's been a fantastic weekend.
Hasn't it?
Yeah. It's always a voyage of discovery. And I always say it, and I said it to the ladies, first thing I always say is give yourself permission to be messy. Because so often we want to pick something up and do it right first time. And when you're reading a new pattern, you can do that. Because it's familiar stitches, it's familiar way of using the yarn. And in a sense, a twig stitch is kind of familiar and unfamiliar because you know the knit and purl stitches. Those are the same as anybody else. But it's how you use the yarn, how you put the yarn into your project,
Right.
and how you think about it.
Right.
And you have to use both yarns on every row, so the whole thing is how do I hold my yarn?
Well, and I think it's probably important that we step back just a little bit
Sure.
about
the Twigg Stitch, obviously.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because we didn't talk about that. So it's Vicki Twigg, the
Yes.
Twigg Stitch.
Yes.
We talked about this weekend. We wondered where you got the name for the stitch.
Yeah, it just happens to be my name.
But as best you can on a podcast, can you describe exactly what the Twigg Stitch is?
What Twig Stitch is? Yes. My starting point was a two-colour rib. So if you're familiar with the two-colour rib, you knit one colour and then you bring a second colour forward to the front and purl it. Then you take it to the back again and then you knit the first colour. And you alternate these two all the way across, and it makes a wonderful striped effect where you get these vertical stripes of colour. It's not as stretchy as a regular rib with one yarn. But when you turn it over, the back of it, you see all these yarns going across, floats, like the inside of a Fair Isle cardigan or a sweater. And my first inspiration was looking at that and thinking, I want to see rib on the other side. Because it's a rib. You're purling one stitch, you're knitting the next. I want to see rib on the other colour, and why can't I do that in the other colour? So I went and played with yarn, and it took me a couple of days literally playing with yarn at home and thinking in the back of my head this ought to be possible. And so mechanically I could see how it was going, and it was torturous doing it to start with. But I gradually worked out a way of knitting so that I could then say to somebody else, do this, do that. And to start with, I was using one yarn in each hand. And then as I began to see it, there's a difference between looking at something and actually seeing how it works and understanding the mechanics. The more you understand the mechanics of it, the better. And you can then see how to do it with both yarns in one hand, and that can be either left or right. And even this weekend, I've come up against another couple of ways of holding yarn.
Really?
And people are wonderfully creative with that. I say, this is what should be happening on your needles, and they work out how they're going to hold the yarn. This is the second time in teaching it since 2013, I think I started, that I had a truly left-handed knitter.
Okay.
And I was so glad that I was able to sit down and say, here's how you do it. Because I'm left-handed, but not strongly. So as I was telling the ladies, I'm to the left of ambidextrous. So
well, and we had two ambidextrous here this weekend.
Okay.
And I think what some of them struggled with, at least in those cases, they have two dominant hands.
It can be like that, yes.
So trying to figure out which was the dominant seemed to be a challenge for them.
Yes. I'm not as left-handed as some other people, so there are things that I will do right-handed, you might say. Although it doesn't feel right-handed to me, it's just, that's the way I do it.
It's the other hand.
Yes. But it does mean that I'm able to think my way the other way around, and that's helpful.
Well, I also think it was really helpful for people because to be able to use both hands or one hand or the other hand, because some people had done color work, some people had done other kinds of things. And you started us off with two hands, which was awkward for some people, but then once they understood what they were doing, then you thought, well, wait a minute, I could put this both in this hand or do this or that and make it work. So that was wonderful because that you understood what you were doing.
Yes.
So
and
then
I
you
would
could figure
recommend
out.
anybody, if they're trying it out, to start with that one, even if you prefer both in one hand, because it helps you to see what your yarns are doing on the needle. And as soon as you understand the mechanics, then it's easier to switch around.
You can make a change. And I think it almost seemed daunting to start with because you had so many balls of yarn and you had to think, oh, wait a minute, this is the one that goes all the way across.
That's
this
right.
Is da. So the first couple of rows needed probably a little more attention than many of us were able to give them by the time we had mastered the stitch. But today, in the light of day,
And that usually happens on Sunday morning.
Right.
I think Saturday is just a long day to try to understand and comprehend. And then everybody's really exhausted. By the time 5 o'clock rolls on Saturday evening.
Well, I think you've realized what you've mastered and what you haven't quite gotten yet.
Yes.
And you think, I'm not going to get it tonight.
Yeah, because
it's not going to happen tonight.
And there's only a half day left.
Right. But if I sleep.
Yes. It's amazing what your mind processes when you're switched off.
I woke up this morning seeing stitches.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, that's what has to happen.
Now you know what it's like
Really?
inside my head.
Yeah, I don't think I've woken up seeing stitches in a long time.
That's exactly the same. My husband is a composer in some of his, in one of his existences, and he writes the most gorgeous music. But I asked him what it's like one time, and he said, I've got music going in my head all the time.
Wow.
But he said it's not, it's like remembering music all the time, except I know I've never heard it before. And I thought that was a wonderful description. And in the sense of crafts and knitting particularly, that's what's going on in my head.
Well, especially when you're designing something new and you've gotten to a certain point and you think, now what do I do? And then all of a sudden you have stitches in your head.
Well, and I think that's an example or a good segue, because you have a new stitch that you've developed as well.
Yes, a couple of years ago. That was a kind of a light bulb moment, and I don't remember what I was doing. But I realized that I could create this textural fabric, and you have to kind of put Twig Stitch out of your head to see it. It's like the back of stockinette stitch, but each ridge is an alternating two colours. And when you turn it over, the colours are just reversed. It's not like the back where you get these bicoloured ridges. And so I worked that out, and then I started experimenting with switching my colours around and doing different designs and patterns. And I'm now writing patterns for that. And that's called Switch Stitch.
And it's beautiful. And it's so beautiful that in terms of next year, we talked to this year's participants about the retreat, and Vicki showed them the new Switch Stitch, and everybody loved it.
They did.
And we have 100% return participation for our 2019 retreat.
Yeah. And I should tell you, you can go and look at pictures of it. If you go to vickitwigg.com, my website is redesigned.
It's gorgeous.
Oh, you had a look?
I absolutely did. It's absolutely beautiful.
So you can find pictures there of Twig Stitch and Switch Stitch.
Oh, good.
And there are some little freebie videos on the very basics of how to do them. And I'm also publishing patterns through that, so every time I get them tech edited, they're going up on there, as well as on Ravelry.
And you have a group.
On Ravelry, yes, we have a Twig Stitch group. That's been going several years now.
So Vicki, we just have to thank you for coming to our retreat. This is the second year that you've joined us. It will be a third year in 2019.
Yes.
But Vicki, thank you so much for being with us.
It's been a pleasure. Absolutely wonderful to meet everyone again.
Yeah, it's always, when you're with us, you know, and I have to say, I've read the evaluations. You're getting like beyond,
oh my goodness,
beyond high marks. So
it's
been a fabulous weekend.
Thank you. I've had a blast being here. It's wonderful.
We all had a great time.
We really did. I think, we got to mention the very berry bread pudding.
Oh my gosh. I forgot I have that recipe.
I have the recipe too. I
have to find it. It's in my notes.
Well, if you don't find it, I have it. But, I love bread pudding. But this is to die for bread pudding.
Oh, it was just luscious.
It is, and it's so good that they pass out the recipe to anybody who wants it, because I guess every time they make it, everybody wants the recipe. But I don't know what kind of bread they used, but it's just not your ordinary bread pudding.
No.
And then it had fresh fruit on top. It was really good.
So anyway, given the food and the knitting, we all had a wonderful time.
We did.
And everybody wanted to come back again next year.
100% renewal. And so that's going to be in February. And as we said, it's actually 100% sold out for February 2019, which I love. But we did get the chance to talk to Vicki and talk to the Inn, and we've decided to offer another Twig Stitch retreat. And this is going to be in October of this year. Vicki was actually making this beautiful Twig Stitch scarf while she was there. It is gorgeous. It's on the website. Please take a look. Because of the fact that we've already sold out of that retreat, we decided to offer another retreat for those who want to learn the Twig Stitch and come to the beautiful Huntingfield Creek and also eat very berry bread pudding.
So that's October 2018.
That's right. October of this year.
Okay.
The last week in October, we'll be back at the retreat with Vicki.
Oh, and the fall on the shore is just gorgeous.
It is. It is.
It'll be really pretty.
I think for you, the question is going to be, are you going to do October or are you going to do February of 2019?
Well, I'm already registered for February 2019. The question is, do I need another getaway in October? I'd love to make that scarf.
Right?
That was just, it was so pretty.
I'd love to have the bread pudding again.
Well, that's true too, although we do have the recipe.
I'm not gonna make it though. But if you make it, invite me over.
There we go.
But we had a great time.
So all of the information about both retreats is on the website.
That's exactly right. And before we leave the Vicki Twigg retreat, Vicki has asked us to do a giveaway with her Twigg Stitch book. It's an autographed Vicki Twigg book.
So if you are interested in getting a look ahead for preparing for one of the retreats, go to the website and click on the giveaway button. Enter your name and email address.
And the state that you're from.
Right, and where you're from, to be in the running for winning a copy of the Twigg Stitch book.
So for a preview for our next show, we actually have our first international guest who's going to join us. Mike Dickinson is from New Zealand. He had a chat with us.
Just on over 8 years ago, I was single at the time and lamenting to a friend of mine that I really liked the idea of having someone in my life who would knit me socks. I thought that was just such a charming idea that someone would knit for you. And she sort of gave me this look and pointed out that, I think her words were, "You have arms, don't you?" And I thought, oh, yes, she's right. I mean, I could do this myself, couldn't I?
Don't want to miss listening to Mike. He has an amazing array of fun stories to share with us, including the great penguin sweater fiasco.
He talks about a project where we were asked to make sweaters for penguins, and it kind of went out of control.
Right.
But that'll be on our next show.
Right.
It's been a great show, Joyce.
Thanks, Diana.
For more information about the yarn, books, patterns, or industry designers discussed on our Saturday Morning Breakfast Club podcast, visit our website at knittingboutique.com or give us a call at country code and area code 1-410-553-0433.